It's Saturday, the 24th of April, 2021. Welcome back to Seasiders podcast. On today's show, we're going to be discussing what we've just watched. The shit show at Bloomfield Road as Blackpool took on Shrewsbury Town and failed to score again. I'm John Aspinall. This is the Seasiders podcast, match reaction show. Blackpool 1, Blackpool 0, Shrewsbury Town 1, if only.
It's already changed the world. A small town from the north of England with a great tradition.
Welcome, everybody, to the Seasiders podcast post-match reaction show. Welcome on stream, everybody. Welcome, Steve. Good evening. Welcome, Mike Melody. Funeral directors, Tuesday's taxidermist. Let's do some stuffing. Welcome, Bisons. What's Bison saying? Bunch of bottlers, including the coach. Neil Stone. Evening. Happy days. Is that knobber?
He's a very optimistic person, whoever he is.
Was it an Oxford fan? Opportunity. This is going to be fun. It is, Mark. It is, because in the green room, we've all been saying, are we going to even bother talking about this game, Nick, or is it just going to be a rant fest?
I think we should make it the record shortest pod if we can, because I've no desire to go into any great detail on it. It was painful, wasn't it? Especially after Tuesday to repeat the same formation, which I'm sure we'll come to talk about. But we're still in the playoffs, I suppose. There's a positive for you before we all have a rant.
Another positive is your newly sharp haircut that you're hopefully sporting. And
at long last, yes.
Nick's.
I thought I'd go short in case there's a third lockdown. So, and I end up, what was it, Phil? So I look like a roadie from Ocean Colour Scene. So I've gone for a lockdown special.
A roadie motion call scene quality. Good evening, Matt V1. Matt Smith is in the house. And welcome, Matt.
Good evening, John. Good evening, everybody.
And welcome, Matt V2. You're going to have to assume the moniker Mitch again, I'm afraid, Matt.
That's fine by me.
Right, so let's get on with it. Because as we said, this is going to be one of the shortest shows ever. This is going to be the main talking point that's coming on the screen right now. So, Matt V1, I'll come to you first. And again, as we were saying in the green room, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. There was one change in that lineup, but it was pretty much as you were.
Yes, it was indeed. Now, I wasn't expecting wholesale changes. I know a lot of people have thought there was going to be like 3, 4, 5 changes to the lineup today. Personally, through the fan hub thing, I thought the only change he was going to make was going to take Sims out and put Mitchell in and go back to what was previously a 4-2-3-1, fairly tried, fairly trusted situation in terms of formation. Because, like you say, we have just hit a brick wall, haven't we? So he has to change something. So he doesn't have to go radical, because he's never radical, is he? We've learned that about Critchley, that he's not radical. He doesn't just sort of like do any sort of knee-jerk reactions or anything like that. But a little tweak and like one person could make that difference in terms of the lineup. And that's what I was hoping for. But when I saw, with respect, Ellis Sims' name on the lineup, I just thought, we are going 4-4-2 again. And we are just going to come across the same stubborn resistance, and we are not going to be as creative. And I'm no wizard. I have no crystal ball, but, I feared as soon as I saw that at 2:00 this afternoon, that was what was going to happen. And lo and behold.
Nick, my heart sank when I saw that team line up. What was your state of mind when you saw it, and what did you think of the
pretty much
lineup?
What Matt said? I thought he would drop Sims, put Mitchell in, and that way we get the best out of Kai and Embleton, rather than getting not a lot out of them. We just, I just don't get it at all, because it nullifies those two players who are probably two of our most creative players, because, you know, in the middle we've got the two who sit and give it. And I just thought, similar to Matt, it's going to be a tough afternoon. They'll, you know, will they try and get something as it happened from a set piece and then sit back, and we won't have enough to break them down. And it's exactly, you know, what happened. We did have chances, but just feel like, especially after Tuesday and today, we've been the architects of our own downfall, and I don't understand what he's thinking with that formation.
Mitch, over to you. Your thoughts on the formation and your thoughts on team selection, given the fact we've had all these warnings, as Nick's just mentioned. What's going through his head doing it again?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not so much that I saw Sims and thought, oh no, I don't want to see Ellis Sims, but I don't want to see Ellis Sims in a 4-4-2. We talked about this the other week. It's, you know, one up front, the three behind him, exactly as Nick said, the creativity set free. You've got Demi's pace, you've got Embleton's brain, you've got Sully's trickery, and we might have a chance of unlocking teams, but we're just booting it at a bloke who's not built to receive that kind of play. And actually, I had half a mind that you might even take Yates out the lineup for a game to give him a rest because he's not looking sharp. And I wouldn't have been that unhappy to have seen Sims up front on his own in a formation that might have sort of fed him properly, you know, through balls, ball in front of him, playing football instead of just banging it at him in a 4-4-2 as if he's Gary Medine, which we've firmly established he isn't. So the first line, I don't want to sort of quote my own blog, but the first line of my blog this week, which I wrote before the game, was, I hope this is one of those games where I go at the end, I was wrong, and it wasn't. So you kind of preempted this, did you? Well, I think everybody did. And there was a poll on Twitter, wasn't there? I think, with what formation do you want to see? I can't remember who run it, but it was. I voted on it, and the result I think was 97% wanted to see. 2% wanted 4-4-2, and 97% wanted the formation that we've all said we wanted.
Isn't it ironic that we're berating this 4-4-2 when we were all clamouring for it at one stage? But the big difference was Gary Medine, Matt.
Yeah, it was, and whilst we're not blessed with a, I use a Timism here, a smorgasbord worth of options off the bench and beyond that, we've got to make the most of what we've got, and that's where I didn't think we would do sort of wholesale changes, but by tweaking things, and we have successfully in the past without Gary Medine played this 4-2-3-1 sort of formation, and why we've not gone back to it, I really don't know, and it's just coming to a point where you start to lose a little bit of faith, for want of a better word, really. 4-4-2 has worked for us in the past, like you say, when Medine was there particularly, and let's be honest, it's worked to a certain extent when Sims and Yates has been there, but that's probably just masked over, it's papered over a few cracks as far as I can see. I think the 4-2-3-1 gives us much more options going forward. It links the midfield to the forward guys and the back to the midfield better. And yeah, I was just really disappointed that we didn't go for it today in that, in that formation. So,
I mean, we could have even played. We could have even played three centre halves now. Husband's back.
When you're chasing it, when you're chasing a game, when you go 1-0 down, especially, not necessarily from the first minute, but it was an option, wasn't it? And we'll talk about the substitutions again, I'm sure, but it was an option that was available to him, and just disappointing that we didn't go on the front foot, really.
Let's just address this comment coming from Phil Hornby. It's a decent shout. The turning point is when we were 2-0 up at Lincoln playing fantastic football, and we haven't really looked like scoring since. And that's one goal in 4 games against lesser ability, so-called lesser ability teams. So it's worrying for me. It's very worrying. And I was right to call up Tim for putting directions to Wembley and all that, and the playoffs are happening. He's off at his sister's today, if anyone's wondering. But yeah, so Nick, it seems a long time ago, doesn't it, since that first half against Lincoln?
It certainly does. Yeah, it does. It's not the time of the season to be having a wobble, is it? That's for sure. Yeah. And like I said, it feels it could have been entirely avoidable. I'm not saying we'd have won all those games, but we play that more creative football with that 4-2-3-1 formation. And yeah, I don't get it. I really don't.
So, Mitch, considering Neil Critchley's he's got such a high pedigree, and he's got, more or less the top coaching qualifications you can get in the world, you'd expect him to be flexible in this situation and pull on this wealth of knowledge that he's got in tactics and formations.
You would, but I'm not sure tactics and sort of reading the game are the same as coaching. And I was just listening to what was being said there about sort of why won't he go back to the formation. And my only thought is that I don't think he trusts Demi fully. I don't think he trusts Mitchell, and I think he doesn't trust Mitchell because Mitchell loses the ball a lot. And I was watching us today, and we were just, the most frustrating thing was it was all about ball. This is what I wasn't on the pod then, but you were saying at the beginning of the season, it's all about ball retention. It's not about taking the chance. It's not about attacking. And he didn't put Mitchell in the starting lineup. And the only reason I can come up with is because he sees Mitchell as wasteful as opposed to seeing his sort of attacking prowess, if that makes sense. And for him, his coaching philosophy is about you retain the ball, and the longer you retain the ball, eventually you make, the perfect chance. But, today they were just there to be got at. They weren't special. And neither were Rochdale last week. I could understand the Aki draw in a way, because I was actually really impressed in a limited way with Aki. I thought they made it very, very hard for us. They worked very hard. And it was one of those games where you have to kind of go, they did a job on us. But I don't think Rochdale or Shrewsbury did a job on us. We just didn't play. And I think that's...
job on ourselves, didn't we?
Yeah, I think that's the thing, in a sense, that he's clearly a good coach, but that's not the same as being a good tactician.
I think that's a really good point that Mitch makes. That, when you think back to recent history, and the risks that a certain midfielder with a left foot like a wand would make 10 years ago, you take those chances, don't you? You know that full well that he would misplace as many passes as he probably hit, but that's what you took with Charlie Adam. And I'm not saying Mitchell is Charlie Adam by any stretch of the imagination, but I know exactly where Mitch is coming from, in that if you want to get chances at any level, you have to take a certain, it's risk versus reward. That's life, full stop, and it happens in football matches. And if you want to be as conservative as we currently seemingly are at the moment, then, at best you're only going to get a 1-0 win somewhere along the line. We have got to take more risks if we want to be getting the rewards. And at the moment, we're just not set up like that.
No. So the first half, I know we're not going to talk much about the game. The first half was so boring. I was on my phone all the time. I was on the chat. There's fuck all happening, and it was you just knew. I just knew, unless he was going to make wholesale changes in the second half. That I actually said, Nick, on half time, I said they're just going to nick one and win it, and it happened. The only chance we had of note, what I can remember in the first half was it Ballard when he's fired over from a good shot, and Brett was saying he's off balance and everything. I thought it was a good chance. It sat up quite well for him.
Effort as well, wasn't there? Where from the short corner, that was
yeah.
probably our best chance of the game, really.
Yeah, was that even a shot by Garbutt? Or judging by the way he's played, it was more of a miss-hit cross. He was shocking today, wasn't he?
He was.
Dead ball. Oh my god. So
they had a good chance, didn't they? Where it was it Ward gave the ball away, didn't he? And deflected up and came off. It was the underside of the bar, wasn't it? And we were lucky to get away with that one, because I thought it was possibly a penalty as well, wasn't it? In the the phase of play just after on Jordan Gabriel, wasn't it? Yeah.
It kind of got missed by everyone,
It
didn't it?
did,
The referee,
yeah.
the players, the commentators. As soon as I saw that, Christ, that's a pen.
It's one of those.
Gabriel looked very guilty afterwards as well. He sort of did that
Yeah.
stepping away with his hands up thing.
Yeah, I think he caught him definitely, and it was. I think it was a pen that.
Yeah, the referee was close by as well, wasn't he? But he was, fortunately for us, I suppose, the line was on the other side of the pitch, so he was close enough, but he was actually the wrong side of it. And I think that's what saved us, because I'm sure that if we were fortunate enough to ever be in Shrewsbury's penalty area, we'd have actually jumped up and gone for a penalty appeal on that one as well. But yeah, that first half, there was no cohesion. I put on the chat that Embleton was doing his best impression of Lord Lucan.
Yeah, made me giggle, that one.
And then I follow that up with 12 Zs in a row, followed by an exclamation mark. And again, I can't. No shots, just no shots. Apart from, like you say, that Ballard one where he went over the bar, and
his
Garbutt
shot
before that.
nearly. Yeah.
And when I say no shots, I mean like there was just nothing from the front two and nothing from the midfield in an open play environment. It was just bloody awful, really was.
It's weird how we started that game sort of as if it. I felt like we were I felt like I was just waiting for us to start playing the whole half and thinking, why are you sizing Shrewsbury up? We're 41 games into the season. You know exactly what they're going to do. We know exactly who we are. What are we being cagey for? Just get at them. You know.
Yeah.
It's like a boxing match, wasn't it? Where you're thinking, right, this round, something's going to happen. And before you know it, it's like the 12th round and nothing's happened.
It's like two slugging heavyweights.
It was. It was.
Yeah. In a bar in Blackpool.
That'd have been more exciting, to be fair.
I'm just looking at the match stats now. We had 61% possession, 11 shots, 5 on target, 4 off target. So that's surprising. We had a lot of the ball in our half and just sideways passes between Thornley to Garbutt.
I mean, when your goalkeeper has more touches in a first half of football than your front two combined, that's not right, is it? That's the way we're seemingly playing at the moment. We're just devoid of any sort of attacking intent, really. And I don't know what it is, because are they playing to instruction, or are they just scared to do something and risk, like you say, like Mitch said earlier, is like it's scared to lose the ball and be bollocked for it, because that's not right. If that's the case, because I actually thought in the first 5 or 6 minutes, I thought Kai looked a threat in a way, on the left hand side, and I thought we started all right, and he probably had more touches in the first 5 or 10 minutes than he did in the whole 90 minutes on Tuesday night, and then all of a sudden it just disappears, doesn't it? And it's so depressing. Really,
we're just constantly overrunning midfield every last 3 or 4 games. We've got no time on the ball. They're just out pressing us every game.
And that's when we end up going long from the back, don't we? Because they're just looking, going, there's
no
nobody.
other options.
So
no other options.
I'll launch it.
Yeah. Well, how many times did one of our players beat one of their players? We look overrun partly because we don't take them on. You invite the press on them, but we don't look to beat them. We so rarely dribble with the ball. If you look at our stats, our dribbling stats are really low because we just don't have anybody that goes 1v1 and bets sort of, backs themselves. Sully does occasionally, Demi does occasionally. Even CJ actually didn't go past people that much. He'd run faster than people in a straight line. But you sort of, the sideways, you kind of invite that press almost because you're sort of saying, if you press us, we'll just go back.
Mark Tunis is just asking in the comments, gentlemen, what has happened to our pressing game? And that was a key part of our game, wasn't it? It's gone. It's just non-existent. You want to come in on that?
Yeah. Sorry, go on, Matt.
No, I was going to say it probably just comes down to confidence. The whole thing. Everything sort of. Everything seems to be, I'm being a bit dramatic here, but it all seems to be sort of falling apart a bit, doesn't it? And this is part of it. The pressing games disappeared, the passing through midfields disappeared. we're not creating anything. And I guess this is what happens with, confident football's a confident sort of game, isn't it? As much as anything else. And I guess it's just all part of that, really. But I don't know. Are the players just tired? I don't think they're just tired. I know they've had a hard schedule. Don't get me wrong. Tuesday, Saturday for a long time now. But these are guys who are very, very physically fit. So I'm sure they're more than capable of doing it.
Same for us all teams, though, isn't it? As well.
Of course it is. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we are now on the same games as anybody else, aren't we? Pretty much. So it's just hard to put your finger on. It really is. But I do agree. I think there's too much sort of passive play and I don't know, almost a fear of making mistakes, perhaps for some reason.
And that's a good point that Steve makes there, though, about the pressing game being linked to the formation, because that 4-2-3-1, we're a lot better at pressing in that formation. The 4-4-2 just doesn't lend itself to that at all, and I think that's part of why it's not been happening.
Right, on to the second half. Let's get my little finger up. See if there's any action. We started okay from
a couple of chances, wasn't there?
We had a spell, didn't we, for 10 minutes?
Sims kept it in well and fired it across, and keeper palmed it out, and I think they cleared it just as Jerry was about to pounce.
Was that the one on 51 minutes? Jerry ran off the shoulder of the man. Was that a ball over the top from Gabriel? Just sort of it over.
That was a couple of minutes later, wasn't it? Yeah, and played Yates in that. It was a very good ball, that, and he hit the side netting, didn't he? Probably should have gone across the keeper there, I think.
That was the turning point of the game for me. So I think if that was gone in, like Nick says, he should have gone across the keeper. If that was gone in, maybe it'd have opened the game up slightly. They'd have come out at us more. And it's those fine lines, I guess. But you'd expect Jerry to be sticking that away, Mitch.
Yeah, but I've said this for a few weeks. I think, I completely take what Matt says about the professional footballers and same for everyone. But I think Yates is just not. I can't think of the last time Yates wasn't on the pitch, and he just doesn't look the player he did 3-4 games ago. And I think also our overall play. Yates missed a chance. When we come to the goal, we're probably going to, lambast the defending. But if we've got pretensions of promotion, we should be able to create more chances than we did. We shouldn't be bemoaning, there was one miss and, we've lost the game. We should be creating, 9, 10, 11 chances a game, shouldn't we? And we were a few games ago, we were. Yeah. So, yeah, he should have done better. But to be fair, his movement was quite good to get onto that ball and get him in. But I think we're missing the point if we're blaming Yates for missing one chance or blaming whoever let the man go in the box. We're missing the point of the overall lack of positive attitude and intent that we've seen in the last couple of games.
Lack of intent, that's the one. Sam Burbage just said that on Facebook. Lack of intent and intensive attack. That's a nail on head there, Sam. If we do sneak into the playoffs and we're playing this way, it just does not bode well, does it?
Not if Gary Medine's still not playing. It doesn't now. If he is, then we're better in that formation with him. But I don't know how far away he is. It doesn't seem to be happening, doesn't it? It's game after game after game, and he's not even making the bench, is he? So I mean, it'll be interesting to see what we do for. It's Tuesday, isn't it? Next game, whether we rinse and repeat. Because if we do, then we might not even get on a discussion about the playoffs. Because I think we'll be outside.
Cannot do the same, surely.
Well, you'd certainly hope not.
So we've had that great chance from Jerry, and they've gone down the other end, got a corner. We gave the ball away in the build-up cheaply, and corner comes in completely unchallenged, unmarked, and Matthew Pennington's just nodded it in and said, "Thank you very much." Softest of goals you can possibly give away.
It was like it was just sort of one of those where they've scored.
It's like, yeah, it was like that? You're rubbing your eyes. Like, what has that just happened? Is it like a training? Is it like, is the ball going out of play for an offside and everyone stopped?
Yeah, it was poor, wasn't it? Very, very poor. Like you say, it's almost like a training ground exercise. And I just thought at that point, that's it now. They'll sit back and we will not have enough to break them down. And, so it proved to be.
Matt, I think we've talked on previous episodes about our lack of ability to come back from behind in games. And we requested a stat off someone, if you remember. And we've not come back from behind in many games again, which is a worrying sign.
Mm. Yeah, and when we did go 1-0 down behind today, I was, you just want an instant reaction, don't you? Because that's sort of normal, isn't it? Whether you're playing on a Sunday morning or a Saturday afternoon in your local sort of park or whatever, you get a reaction, and we just don't seem to. I don't know. Do it? It's really difficult. I'm so loath to sort of really criticise the guys because they've obviously done really well to get where they are in the table at the moment. But you just feel as though there's just no spark there to react to these sort of situations, and whether that's because there's nobody on the pitch that's actually pulling them up by the bootlaces, whether the fact there's not 10,000 of us in the ground giving them shit, quite frankly, to do it, and that makes the difference. It does, I mean, as much as, we all hate being, sat at home watching I Follow, but, we would love to be at the ground. And even if we're 1-0 down at home, you would like to think that we would get behind them and get a reaction from them. And it must be quite hard in a way for the players to not have that, to spur them on. But equally, they're sort of like, masters of their own destiny, aren't they? They've got to be in control of it. And the fact that it was just a piss poor goal to concede, we didn't react to that, whether that was the 11 that were on the pitch at the time or any substitutions thereafter. It was just really, really poor. And we don't seem to be able to react to being a goal behind. And going into the playoffs, as you mentioned earlier, in normal circumstances, if we were able to have, the crowd at Bloomfield Road and we were, fairly sort of, passive with our play and brought them back to Bloomfield Road, we might be able to get something out of it. But, at the moment, I'm not convinced we'll actually get into the top six. I really am.
Mitch, do you think the same? Do you think we'll sneak in?
I don't know. I think we've been up and down this season, haven't we? I mean, did we see how good we were for, 5 games or whatever it was, 5 or 6 games when we were really good? I don't think we saw that coming either. And I don't know. I don't know whether we'll get there or not. That's a poor answer, isn't it? I should nail it. But yeah.
4 weeks ago,
you are right. Go on.
I was going to say 4 weeks ago, we were all cock-a-hoot. We were pushing for the top 2.
We were playing that well, though.
And now we're just like, hanging on by our fingernails, aren't we, in terms of the playoff position? And it's just bizarre at how it's flipped on its head. It really is.
Do you know what today's game and the last couple of games has reminded me of? Blackpool under Simon Grayson. Devoid of ideas.
There's a happy thought.
Yeah, cheers.
It has though. Devoid of ideas, just playing it around at the back, no options, just hoofing it, going long.
Yeah. Didn't Shrewsbury do basically the identical thing to us last year or, whenever, who knows? I don't know. COVID's broken my internal
In fact, they've done the double over us. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. They beat us, didn't they?
It was an almost identical game under Grayson last year when we sort of fannied about a bit, and Ben Hennigan was. What was really frustrated me today was the person who was delivering the ball into the box most was Ballard, and he's just about the last player that you want doing that, And I seem to remember Shrewsbury last year, it was mostly us faffing about and Ben Hennigan booting it into the box, and then they scored, and that was it,
We had a couple of decent set pieces today from Garbutt where we're playing it deep and Jerry's kind of nodding it back across goal. That was a tactic they obviously worked on. Nearly came off, so it's at least they've tried something a bit different.
Yeah, I mean, the thing was like, Gabriel was presumably in the side today to provide more ammunition. And, you look at what we have today. We have Garbutt on one side with Kai. We have Embleton on the other side with Gabriel. And we're talking about Ballard being the main supplier of balls into the box.
But this is a problem for me. Is one of the big arguments seems to come down to who's going to play right back. And in terms of creativity, I don't think right back is really the forge of creativity for a team.
Absolutely.
And I think one of the key problems is that Dougal and Ward, and I've just looked this up now, Dougal and Ward have played 56 starts combined with 9 sub appearances. So that's 65 games total between them, and they've contributed a grand total of 2 goals and 2 assists between them combined, and people, and sort of, I've already seen on Twitter people sort of saying stuff about Sully and, whatever. Sully's got, Embleton's got 3 assists and he's played about 10 games. Mitchell's got a couple of goals and assists. CJ got goals and assists. Sully's got 6 goals, 8 assists. And the centre of the pitch has, those 2 key starters have been involved in 4 goals between them. And we're sort of tinkering with the right back to get creativity. That's the fundamental problem, is we don't have creativity in the middle of the pitch. And if you play the 4-5-1 or 4-2-3-1 or whatever you call it, then you're bringing a creative player into the middle of the pitch, and then you're asking more questions of teams. And we just go back to this thing where, okay, Sully looked quite good early on. They close him down. What else have we got? Embleton's off his game, so that's that. What else have we got? Dougal and Ward passing. There's nothing wrong with Dougal and Ward. They're both players I like a lot, but they're just passing it sideways between each other, and the fullback, the centre backs knocking it over the top for Yates to run after, and that's the problem. And we still haven't got a creative midfielder, have we?
No.
Let's talk about substitutions then. We've made our first on 62 minutes. Mitchell for Sims, 2 further changes on 70. Turton for Robson, Gabriel for Embleton. So the one on 70 made me laugh most. 2 defensive players on to...
Yeah, I mean, if you didn't know the score, you'd
keep the 1-0 tie.
You'd be thinking it was us who was 1-0 up, and we're shoring it up for the last 20 minutes, wouldn't you? Yeah, I mean, whether he could have given Holmes a bit longer than what did he get? 10 minutes?
9 minutes he got.
Yeah. I mean, they had how old was their lad up front? He was only 18, wasn't he? Starting. Yeah. So, yeah, that was just a cherry on the shit cake.
I just couldn't believe it when I saw Turton coming on.
I was ripping my eyes. Like, what?
That, And you're taking Embleton off and replacing him. Why are you doing that? You're taking the attacking player off and bringing on an out-of-form sort of defensive midfielder. It makes no sense at all. You might as well. I would have rather seen him shove Marvin up front for 15 minutes and bang it at Marvin or something. I didn't. But he does this, doesn't he? He either doesn't make subs, he sort of clings to the starting formation, or he makes a sub and then another sub, and he kind of keeps switching the formation over and over again. And so you kind of can't really see how you're ever going to get a pattern of play out of that. Because he went to the formation we've all said we wanted, and then he changed it again about 6 minutes later, almost as if to, I don't know, I don't want to lay to him too much, but it's almost as if he's kind of like, well, I've given that, see, it wouldn't have worked, I'll change it again,
It's like a character on the Fast Show that used to change his mind every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So let's talk Brad Holmes then. Great to see him finally come on, Nick, on 81 minutes. And I said at the time, it's too late. You know, 20 minutes you need minimum, don't you?
Yeah, it can take you 10 minutes to get a touch, can't it? And to get up with the pace of the game. And it's like I say, it's great that he's getting on the pitch at last, but let's give him a chance to do something at least. 10 minutes just it isn't long enough, is it?
I mean, has anyone got an opinion on him, given the fact he
I
barely
thought
touched the ball and he looked busy?
I thought as well he looked vocal. He was shouting for it a few times, and then he had a go at the ref when there was one time when he went, Sully touched a little ball and he went, and his touch was a bit heavy, but he was kind of claiming, and I thought he acquitted himself fine. I think Tim keeps saying he won't let anybody down, and I don't think he let anybody down. I don't think he looked any less out of his depth than a lot of the rest of the players did, if that makes sense. I thought he did absolutely fine, and I've been encouraged in the brief glimpses we've had of him that he seems to be putting himself about and looking confident, and
I think the thing is you could have Sergio Aguero up front today and he wouldn't have got the ball as many times either. So it's sort of irrelevant in a way who we actually play up front at the moment, because the supply line is absolutely abysmal, isn't it?
Non-existent. Well, it's just a few hoofs from the centre halves. So go on, chase that.
There's a comment in the chat that I really agree with from Steve, that we're missing virtue, and I think that's really true. And Matty is not. Matty Virtue is not. He's not the best at anything, but he just has that attitude and that sort of, would say, there's not that attitude, that desire, that drive. That's virtue, isn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah, certain virtues that this team does not have at the moment.
How far away is Anderson from? Was he back in full trade?
He's back on the grass, apparently.
Yeah, just seems to take a long time, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's bad though, isn't it, that we're desperately clambering for these injured players just to come back, just to drag us over the line.
Well, it just gives somebody a rest, doesn't it? And gives us a bit of a different option, and that's what we're crying out for, isn't it?
I mean, just to be sort of, devil's advocate, I suppose, really, in the situation. We're missing Virtue, we're missing Hamilton, we're missing Anderson, we're missing Medine. 4 obviously very attacking players who could and probably will make a difference if they were fully fit to this current side that we are.
And Spud as well. Matt. He was an option from set pieces, wasn't he?
Yeah, to a degree. And it's just options that we haven't got. I'm not saying they're absolutely going to, tear the world apart or anything like that, but they're just options that we haven't got. And it's so... This is where your manager earns your corn, isn't it, really? They've got to shuffle the pack with what they've got, and I just don't think he's doing that at the moment with the tools at his disposal.
Okay, on that note, let's not talk about any more about this game. For a laugh, let's do player ratings.
We just do 5s and call it a day. We can all go and get pissed.
I'm out mountain biking in the morning early, so that's why I'm on the Coca-Cola, that is. Chris Maxwell, Matt.
Glad you clarified that, John.
Yeah, just for getting that horrendous back pass by Jordan Thornley.
Oh, yeah, so I'm glad you reminded me. What was Thornley thinking?
A touch heavy.
He's pissed around with it at the back. Maxwell's got a man on top of him under pressure, so he thinks, I know, I'll drill it really hard back to where it came from at my keeper's legs. Yeah,
if he was a lesser footballing playing goalkeeper, that would have been disastrous, wouldn't it?
What is going through his brain to do that?
He also did that brilliant moment in the first half where, do you remember that Letitia goal?
Oh, yeah.
It was like he recreated that in his own half, and it came
out. Like, how's he done that? I'm sure he meant it to, but it was like, wow.
Yeah, it was like Rivaldo at centre half, wasn't it?
Yeah,
brilliant.
It's Bergkamp.
Oh dear. Anyway,
Chizzy said it looks good when it comes off, and luckily for him, it did come off, and it could have quite easily gone badly wrong.
It could have been in trouble, couldn't it? But as it turned out, it was like, that was quite impressive.
So I reckon this could be the highest mark of the lot here, but I'm going to give him a 6 just because of that an ability to keep Thornley's back pass out.
Right, Nick. Jordan back pass Thornley. Jordan Dennis, Matt Thornley.
Yeah, well, we'll give him credit for that bit of skill in the first half.
He was for me. I just want to pipe this. He was just slow at passing the ball.
Well, he is, isn't he?
No urgency, sort of very cumbersome. All right, he didn't give the ball away a lot, but you want passes zipped, and that's how you unlock defenses.
Yeah. No, it's that's not going to happen with him, is it? I think someone said in the chat there 5s across the board, and I think there's probably going to be quite a lot of those 5, 6s.
I think there's 4s. I think there's 4s.
Yeah, I'll give him a 5.
Dan Ballard, Matt, perhaps at fault for the goal. I think it was his man. Mitch, rather.
Yeah, sorry, I was confused. I don't recognise my own name anymore. The other half's been shouting me for 10 days since the last part. I won't acknowledge you. Yeah, Dan Ballard, he was okay. 5+. He was okay. He didn't do anything wrong. I couldn't believe it when he got man of the match because they barely attacked the game. They barely attacked, didn't they? I don't think he had a lot to do. Maybe he could. Did he lose the man at the goal?
Yeah.
I thought so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, then
that's minus a point.
Yeah. 5.
Matt, you have got Luke Garbutt. This is going to be interesting.
Well, I think there's a lot of expectation on him to be the dead ball wizard, and is as much a wizard as Ian McKellen is, isn't he, in real life? I'd 5 out of 10, just bog average, I'm afraid, today.
I'd give him a 4. Kenny Dougal.
Well, yeah, 4, whatever.
Kenny Dougal, Matt. Sorry, Nick.
5. Move on.
It's funny, Mitch, because we were always bigging up Grant Ward, never gives the ball away.
Yeah. And he gave it away a lot. Yeah, it was his worst game in a while for today. I'll give him a 5. Let's move on.
Matt, you even wrote notes on this. Made a gag on his first half performance, so I can expect a damning verdict coming here. Elliot Embleton.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. For those people who 4 weeks ago were thinking he was the the Ronaldo of League One or whatever, I'm afraid he's just. I mean, I can give him a little bit of slack because I don't think he's not a right winger or a right midfielder. He's more of a central midfield player, so I can give him a little slack for that. But if I give him anything more than a 4, it's I think 3. Quite frankly, yeah, 3.
Yep. Agree with that. As does everyone in the chat. Sully Kai, Nick, looked a threat early on, but once again...
He did, yeah. And I think that's probably one of the few or only positive in the game. He did look to get on the ball and he broke forward a couple of times. He's probably still only... I'll give him a 6+.
I thought Sully was the only player that seemed to be playing the game at the pace it needed to be played at. It was like it come to him and he was quick and he was crisp.
Trying to make things happen.
Everybody else was...
Yeah. And then I think he just drifts then a bit after that, doesn't he? Kind of out of the game as it goes on.
Maybe he just gets a bit sick of people not playing at his pace.
He was crap on Tuesday, and I behind Phil, I'm his biggest defender in the world, but he was crap on Tuesday. But today, I thought he looked like the only one that had sort of woken up.
We had a new player
who hadn't partaken.
Yeah. We had a new player when he played in that number 10 role, Sully Kai, and now he's shifted him out again and taking him out of the game.
That's the thing with him, and with like Matt's with Embleton. We're not putting him in the best position to get the best out of them, are we? Either of them. And that's the another frustration for it.
How can Embleton be on the right wing? He's got no pace at all.
It was like when he played Virtue there, wasn't it? Earlier in the season. You probably can't be too harsh on them really because they're not they're not playing in the best position. You play Kai in his best position, then he can be man of the match, no problem. We'll come on to man of the match. He probably was today because everyone else was so poor.
Couldn't beat an egg, though, couldn't he, Embleton? If you're going to ask a right winger to beat anybody, it's got to be through skill and all the rest of it and a bit of pace. And he's just not quite. He's a clever footballer. I'm sure there's a clever footballer in there, and he's only a young lad and all the rest of it. But he's just not suited to a 4-4-2. It's as simple as that.
Ellis Sims, Mitch.
5. Move on. He was,
And to round this off, Matt, Jerry Yates.
Just starved the possession, and when he had that one chance, you just hoped that he was going to hit the target, and he didn't. And I sort of feel sorry for him, but 5, I suppose.
And this is going to be interesting. Manager ratings. Nick, over to you.
2. And the thing was, especially after Tuesday night, that's what's really peed me off today, that he's looked at that on Tuesday night and thought, right, we need to do the same again today. It's just bizarre.
Mind-boggling. Mind-boggling.
Yeah, I think he's, needs to take responsibility for that one today.
So let's a quick look in the comments. Listeners, give us your shouts for manager rating. Bison's give him a 3. That's quite a high rating. Yeah, Alex Woodward 1. Mark Tunisy 2. We're stuck with it. Phil's appeared. Critchley 0, the arrogant tool. Ray Gregson 1. One of our ex-managers, Neil McDonald 2. It's not good reading. Mitch, what's your rating then?
I can't really see where to credit him because I can't see how we've tried to win the game,
And his changes haven't affected the game. He's not affected any change in the game.
No, I can't. If we'd have lost 5-4 or something, fair enough. But I can't see how he's tried to win that game of football particularly. I can't see why he's really picked the team he has. So as much as 3-4 weeks ago, he fully deserved a 10 for some of the performances. I think it's 2 at most. I feel like giving him a 1.
Give him a 1 then. Give him 1.
I've given him 1.
I'm going to give him a 1 as well. The fact that he's picked essentially the same team, the same formation for 3 games, it's criminal for me. And what is he thinking? As Nick said, just doing the same again. I want to know why he thinks that's a good idea. Matt, over to you.
Yeah. So I will. My scientific method is that I remember us having 3 shots and minus 3 substitutions equals 0.
Is it the first ever 0?
It has to be. I mean, it was just garbage, wasn't it? It's just shit.
It's the fact that it reminds me of a Simon Grayson performance. It gives it a 0, actually. So
yeah,
and they had hardly anything to play for either. Did
no,
they?
nothing.
And that's exactly it.
What makes it.
That's exactly it. They've got nothing to play for. We've got nothing to fear. But the only things we fear, to quote JFK, is fear itself. And we just don't seem to be wanting to be taking any risks at the moment. And that can only come from the top, I'm afraid.
Right, this will be a laugh. Man of the match. Nick.
Kai. As I said, just when we were doing the scores then, I think at least he tried to make something happen when he got on the ball. It's slim pickings, isn't it? I don't think anyone else was close to it. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't an amazing performance or anything, but at least he tried to make something happen. So it's got to be Kai for me.
Mitch.
Oh, Sully. He's the only person who gave me any vague sense of the prospect of enjoyment in that game. The rest of it was just grey dross.
I'm going to give it, but Brad Holmes for just
Yeah,
making
fair
his
play.
debut. So
Yeah.
well done, Brad. Hopefully we see more of you and get some goals banging and a bit of energy and youthful exuberance. Matt, over to you.
Yeah, I was just having a bit of a flashback then. I remember a game where, the 89th minute substitution, whoever it was, won the man of the match performance against.
I remember that. That's what I did. It all got a big ironic cheer.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'll go with Brad Holmes as well. In fact, I'll go with Colin Calderwood. Fuck it, whoever.
Oh dear.
Give it Mike Garrity because he ran into their dugout to get the ball back. He deserves it.
Right, let's have a quick look at the league table because always not lost, as they say. Just before we go, let's get it up.
That's the ironic thing, isn't it? We are sixth in the table, aren't we? And we're moaning like really old fuckers that we are.
Yeah,
But
so
anyway.
let's put this in. Let's
Finish on a positive.
Let's try and erase those 3 games that we've just watched. And imagine we're an alien just coming looking at a football league table for the first time. You'd be thinking, Blackpool have got a chance, haven't they?
Yeah, 2 games on Oxford. It's just getting really tight, isn't it? You look underneath. Pompey won today. What did Charlton do?
I think they got beat.
Did they?
Yeah.
Lost at home to Peterborough.
Yeah, so then you look at MK Dons, it's probably a bit too far for them,
MK
isn't
Dons
it?
are on a great run at the moment, aren't they?
They hammered Swindon today, didn't they?
Was it 5-0? So our game in hands against Donny, isn't it? Is that we play them Tuesday? Did we play Tuesday?
Sunderland Tuesday.
Sunderland
Right,
Tuesday.
okay.
Which is going to be tough, isn't it? If we play like we have done in the last 2 games, we'll be getting an absolute tonking.
Yeah. Although did they draw today?
Yeah, drew with that.
Aki,
3-3 with Aki, wasn't it? Yeah.
2-0 up as well. But what does everyone think then?
Well, it's still, like someone's just said in the chat there, is it Marcus Mackay said, still in our own hands, and that's the thing, it is. So we've got to turn up, haven't we, for these last few games? I don't know, I'd say it's 50-50. I think it's toss of a coin whether we'll sneak in or just miss out. Let's see how Tuesday goes. If we get something out of that, then I'll be leaning towards us just managing to do it, but it's going to be a hell of a test.
Yeah.
I had a horrible thought about, all that, whenever it was, 25, 27 years ago, when we had a young manager, who, in his first job, who got us in a good position and then went safety first at the end of the season. And we all know how that ended up, don't we? And I just scared that he's just taking that same approach of, we'll get there with draws, it'll be fine. We'll get there with 1-0 wins. And
it was all against teams that had nothing to play for as well, if you remember.
Yeah. So, but we'll win 10-0 against Sunderland.
Let's just go and beat Sunderland. Let's just go and beat Sunderland.
Yeah, let's do it.
The thing is, they could go on Tuesday night if they wanted to, with the attitude that it's just a free hit, and just do almost whatever they wanted. And if they got battered 5-0, or if we win 5-0, it just could be a bit of a catalyst, couldn't it? And I just hope and pray that they just go with a positive attitude and just think, fuck it, Sunderland are a big club, blah, blah, blah. Let's just go there and give it what we've got, and let's just see what happens. And you just never know. And that could just be the catalyst to the last 4 or 5, whatever it is, games to the final. Who knows?
Good rallying cry there, Matt. The word catalyst, and that was the catalyst for me to press the button to signify the end of the show. Right, gents, thanks ever so much for joining us. I know it's tough coming on when we watch dirge like that, but we face the music, and let's pray for a decent performance on Tuesday. So, thanks for coming on, guys. We'll pray. There we go. Thanks for joining us in the comments. Please like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. I'm meant to be said is thanks for watching, thanks for downloading, and up the pool.
Up the pool.
We're going to do a jaded Phil. Up the pool.